welcome back. We continue with our discussion of prehistory. There is another aspect of prehistory with which we have to become familiar, that is the use and the term of culture in prehistory. All of us live within a culture, and in today's parlance, most cultural descriptions can be qualified by one or more labels such as rich or poor or middle class, etc. Such qualifications depict certain behavioral patterns and features which are typical of the culture so labeled. Culture may also include knowledge, beliefs, arts, customs, laws, etc. And culture may also include traits and habits acquired by a person as a member of society. But in prehistory and of prehistory, culture is difficult to define even in simple terms. Yet, scholars and experts have labeled, defined and identified cultural groups in prehistory. How scholars and historians have defined culture in prehistory is to be noted. Also, there is a general agreement among scholars in defining culture in prehistory. In simple terms, culture in prehistory is defined as the primary way in which the species adapted to their environment. In this case, we can qualify the statement by naming human species. This is because the species, including human species, lived in equilibrium with their environment. We are told that if a species adapted to its environment, it prospered. If it was not well adapted, it evolved into a new species or it moved away from its original habitat, living place or space, or it became extinct. In fact, this is a modern phenomena too, and we can cite examples to explain. Forces of evolution have given polar bear a thick coat and layers of fat to protect it from Arctic cold. But human occupants of the Arctic region do not have layers of fat or layers of fur. These are the Eskimos. The Eskimos shield themselves by making snow houses. Their snowy houses are part of their culture. Such examples outline what constitutes the adaptive system of animals and humans to their environment. And we have to remember that when species die, their experiences and culture die with them. However, human species, because of their communication skills, their ability to use maybe in prehistory, maybe the sign language or any other mode of communication, humans were able to transmit their experiences and cultures from one generation to the next. Humans could share ideas which in turn became their behavior patterns. And such behavior patterns, when repeated again and again throughout prehistory, became their culture. There are innumerable examples when similar or even same types of tools have been found in archaeological sites which date from over the millennia of prehistory. We can cite the examples of stone hand axe, a multi-purpose tool of prehistory defined as such that remained in use according to scholars and experts for more than 1,000,000 years, particularly the stone hand axe of created and used by Homo erectus species. What this indicates is that culture is an ongoing phenomena, and in prehistory it changed gradually over time as an adaptive system. According to scholars and experts, a study of cultures in prehistory provides a much quicker way to understand how humans shared ideas that enabled them to cope with their environment. We have to keep in mind, though, that defining culture in the context of prehistory is not easy. It is a complex process, complex phenomena. Prehistoric cultures are also studied through several variables, some of which are stone tools, weapons, way of getting food, hunting and gathering practices, burial customs and burial patterns, ornaments or even religious sensibilities, and so on. Please remember that when any of such variables changed, say hunting practices changed over the years, then over the hundreds of years, then other variables like weapons were created differently and adjusted in reaction. So, the stone hand axe of Homo erectus slowly gave way to the use of the bow and the arrow, and to the clubs or even to the spear, which begin to be used in hunting practices. From this it follows that no culture is ever static, including prehistoric times. It is always changing and is dynamic. This applies specifically to prehistory too. Some of the prehistoric cultures of human species can be studied from many archaeological sites. It has to be further noted that within material remains of prehistory, there are also variations. For example, wood, bone and animal skin, leather are less durable, and these have not survived in all the different parts of the world wherever human species habitated. But in Arctics, perishable wooden tools have been found, for example, harpoons. Secondly, everyone knows about the remarkable tomb, and we referred to it earlier also, of Egyptian golden pharaoh Tutankhamun, which contains treasure in gold that has survived for over 3000 years even in the dry climate of Nile Valley. There is another dimension that has to be noted in this. This is regarding ascertaining the chronology or exact time period of the changes that we are talking about of prehistory, with which scholars of prehistory constantly grappled with. However, modern science has been able to assist archaeologists or other experts working in the field of prehistory through two new modern dating techniques which have been used to provide chronology for prehistory. One process is called carbon dating and the other process is called potassium argon dating test. Through the use of such advanced dating techniques, we have come to know that human species first appeared in East Africa some 2.8 million years ago. We have also come to know that early human species lived on wild vegetables or up to a point also scavenged food. We are also told that early humans were hunters and gatherers who spread from African savanna regions to different parts of the world and habitated more temperate, tropical as also Arctic latitudes. We are also told that for most of the past 2.8 million years, the rate of human evolution was very slow, very gradual. But about 40,000 years ago, that evolutionary pace quickened, and by then human species had settled practically all over the world. We have also learnt that early humans were game hunters, meaning they hunted animals, big or small, and they also gathered berries or nuts, etc., wild food, and also did fishing by the time we are in later Mesolithic period and Neolithic period. Furthermore, more than 10,000 years ago, humans even began to cultivate the soil, meaning they take to agriculture. They also begin to domesticate animals. This development is related to Neolithic phase of prehistory, and the development has been termed as a true revolution by archaeologists and scholars like Gordon Childe. But the use of the term revolution in prehistory has generated vibrant debate. There are critics of Gordon Childe's theory, and we will touch upon that in Unit 2 also. Critics like Glenn Daniel or Graham Clark have argued for a gradual evolutionary pace in prehistory that varied from region to region. Before we come to that stage of prehistory, let us proceed at present, let us proceed with a focus on prehistory per se. And remember that there is dynamism or constant change in this historical process. It is the dynamism that has to be understood in a meaningful manner. Prehistory is about human evolution, and human evolution is the process by which human beings developed on earth from primates. To understand the process of human evolution, we also need to look at the environmental backdrop. The earth's geological record suggests that for most of its geological time, earth's climate was more homogeneous than today, meaning it was more similar in different parts of the world than what it is today. And this indicated that environmental variability on earth was greater in later stages close to the period when humans evolved. For example, the ice ages of colder climate on the earth lasted for millions of years with recurring glacial expansions. Experts have identified 4 or 5 ice ages which can be termed as Huronian Ice Age, Cryogenian Ice Age, Andean Saharan Ice Age, Karoo Ice Age, and the Great Ice Age. Many extreme climatic changes in the ice ages also occurred with the settling of regular interglacial warm-up intervals, some of longer durations. And this gave the earth's environment a cyclical pattern, means colder climate followed by warmer climate. And what we have to remember is through the ice ages and the changes that have been occurring on the earth, humans evolved and developed during the most recent period of glaciation and have been evolving as a species since 2.8 million years ago, which is prehistory. The modern man, Homo sapiens, as we all know, have been around for 200,000 years and have survived 2 ice ages. Environmentally, broad phases of geological epochs are Paleocene, 65 to 57 million years ago, Eocene, 57 to 34 million years ago, Oligocene, 34 to 23 million years ago, Miocene, 23 to 5 million years ago, Pliocene, 5 to 3 million years ago, Pleistocene, 3 to 13,000 years ago, 3 million to 13,000 years ago, and Holocene, 13,000 years ago to the present, although some scholars say that beginning of Holocene is dated from 11,500 years ago. There could be Pleistocene and Holocene overlap in between. We are currently in the Holocene epoch, but let us look at the geological background of some of the developments in prehistory. The earliest fossils appear in the Paleocene epoch. Species of apes appeared and lived during the Miocene. Pliocene saw tectonic plates of Asia including India collide and continents formed as a result, and Australopithecus species evolved during the late Pliocene. The genus Homo or human lineage is about 2.8 million years old. It first appeared as Homo habilis from genus Australopithecus and later as Homo erectus, which came up during the early Pleistocene. Neanderthals, a name we are all familiar with as a species. Neanderthals are dated to Middle Pleistocene, and late Pleistocene is characterized by the appearance of Homo sapiens or the modern man. Thus, the environmental changes resulted in different geological epochs and settings, of which, as stated earlier, three are crucial to the understanding of human evolution in prehistory. And these three epochs are Miocene, Pliocene and Pleistocene. Miocene was the time of falling sea levels, mountain building, decrease in rainfall and appearance of kelp forests in the seas, meaning under the oceans. The plants and the forests that exist are known as kelp forests that made earth the most productive ecosystem in the Miocene change of environment. It was the time when circumpolar circulation created, it was also the time when the circumpolar circulation created ice cap buildup in Antarctica, while warmer circulation resulted in the appearance of extensive steppe vegetation in Eurasia, meaning when Europe and Asia were part of this process, even as some regions remained wet and cool. The landscape further changed in Africa with the emergence of open grasslands, woodlands or forests and shrublands. The appearance of vegetation offered plenty of food to the surviving species and allowed greater habitat diversity to them. Such changing climatic patterns displaced and made extinct many plants and animals, including species like Australopithecus, while allowing others like the primates of different varieties to survive, like humans to survive. Miocene epoch is known for both extinct and surviving ape species also, with humans considered now to be a part of the ape family. Among the extant ape species, meaning the species which became extinct, are Dryopithecus in Africa, Uranopithecus in Greece, Shivapithecus, Ramapithecus in India, Pakistan, and then Sahelanthropus in African regions, among others. So, the epoch of Miocene is also viewed as an age of ape mosaic with surviving species of orangutans, gorillas, gibbons, bonobos and chimpanzees. Ape mosaic meaning it is a mosaic with different varied species which have been identified in the category of apes. according to scientists, humans are believed to be genetically most closely related to the chimpanzees, and it is understood the two share a common ancestor that lived somewhere in Africa about 8 to 6 million years ago. There is a debate in this, and it says that the chimpanzee digressed, or the humans digressed from chimpanzee somewhere in Africa, and the timeline is said to be around 8 to 6 million years ago, but the scientists are still trying to work on the phenomena of digression and to find out when human lineage separated from the chimpanzees and took to being a Homo species. It is one of the most involving phenomena among the experts today to find out the exact ancestor of humans on the earth. But if we look in the timeline of Miocene, late Miocene is considered a period of accelerated evolution, because we are told that the chimpanzee split off in a separate lineage somewhere in Africa about 6 million years ago, that allowed hominin, Homo line, to evolve as a distinct lineage. The principal feature that binds hominin to modern human in a unique group is locomotion or bipedal gait, meaning walking on two lower limbs. Bipedal gait means, bipedalism means walking on two legs. You are using two limbs to walk, which requires less energy to walk and allows the human to walk faster. When we look at the next important geologic epoch, the Pliocene epoch, this was a time of cooling, though mid-Pliocene is understood to be warmer and relatively with milder climate in higher latitudes. Mountain ranges of Himalayas, Alps and Rockies were formed during this time, and we are told that Antarctica became a frozen continent, leading to the extinction of many species living there at the time. Around this period, general cooling was accompanied by increased drying and aridity of weather also, and this resulted in environmental adaptational changes as forests gave way to enormous grasslands, favoring evolution of grazing animals, particularly on the African continent. Some of the species are surviving still, like the zebras, and this allowed species. Once the enormous grasslands and woodlands appeared, it allowed the species to become dispersed, to spread out as they moved into more open habitats with lesser trees or scattered trees. In the savannas of tropical Africa, such an environmental change gave advantage to earliest hominins to adapt to bipedalism, जिसको हिंदी में द्विपदीय प्रक्रिया कहा जाता है, मीनिंग वॉकिंग ऑन टू legs. Bipedalism requires less energy to travel long distances on the grasslands. So, striding in search of distanced food patches, meaning the area from where food could be acquired, or food in the sense animals could be caught and killed and hunted, those food patches were at a distance from the habitat of the species, or even in search of scavenging food. The mankind walked on with bipedal gait, or even watched for predators not to get killed in the process. Pliocene reflects changes in fossil records too, with the appearance of such hominins as Ardipithecus ramidus 4.4 million years ago, उसके साक्ष्य मिले हैं, and Australopithecine 4 million years ago. Ardipithecus ramidus, Australopithecine, we are going to look into the details of these species in the same unit, but under a different rubric, which would be followed by these introductory lectures on prehistory. Both Ardipithecus ramidus and Australopithecine species, these became extinct eventually, but origins of genus Homo about 2.8 million years ago in late Pliocene changed the course of evolution trajectory. The Homo lineage eventually flourished in the succeeding Pleistocene epoch. The appearance of Homo lineage in Africa made the continent to be known as the cradle of human evolution. The geological Pleistocene epoch is typically defined as the time period that began about 2 million years ago and lasted until 11,700 years ago. Metaphorically speaking, meaning if we apply that to the evolution of humans, it's also Pleistocene is also known as the age of humanity. The most recent ice age occurred then as glaciers covered huge parts of the planet Earth. In fact, the last ice age hasn't completely ended yet. The curious thing about ice age is that the temperature of Earth's atmosphere doesn't stay cold the entire time. It flips flops between glacial periods and interglacial periods. In the current scenario, the glacial and interglacial periods flip flopped at least 17 times. So, the experts deduce that it is very likely that the earth would turn cold again, possibly within the next several thousand years, and the last glacial period known as the Great Ice Age was the most recent glacial period. Thank you.